The SCVS would like to present our 45th president of our society, Dr. Jean Bismuth. And I have the honor of introducing him. And so I'll go through some unique facts and characteristics of Jean as we get ready to hear his presidential address. So I originally thought Jean was born in Copenhagen, but according to the family, he was born there, but very quickly the family moved to someplace else. And actually, he grew up in the country north of Africa in Tunisia, in the city called Tunis. So Jean, he spent a lot of time there, and I didn't realize that. So you actually are probably, I thought I was going to be the first president from African descent, but it actually could be you, Jean. You beat me to it. So, yeah. From there, he grew up with his 6 brothers and sisters, and because of the just wonderfully cultural area, he actually is now proficient and fluent in 6 languages and still practices all of them. So the family had a very happy childhood, and he really enjoyed it. He decided to leave leave Africa and do his college in New York at Vassar College, and then went back to Denmark actually for his medical school and surgical and medical internship. Then back to New York for his general surgery residency. And then continued to travel a little bit, actually left New York and headed all the way over to Texas. And we'll get down there right about there at Baylor Medical College, and that was for his vascular surgery fellowship in Houston. And he stayed on there at Houston Methodist and rose through the ranks from assistant, associate professor, had lots of collaborations and an adjunct appointment at Rice University, and was very successful there. Continued to be recruited by a number of universities, and finally decided to take his final move where he is now in South Florida and working with Dr. Murray Shames as a division chief in endovascular and vascular surgery at the University of South Florida. Congratulations. Now, let's see here. Jean, as I look through your career on your CV and talking with you, there are some areas that are rather unique and I think stand out from other people. One is your support of education. You were a program director involved in a lot of wellness, simulation modules, and fundamentals of endovascular surgery, which I think is going to be a game changer for training our residents and making sure they're competent in endovascular surgery. Also big in technology. You can see him here trying on this robotic type lead. He's been a leader in robotic surgery, endovascular and open, as well as collaborating with industry for tech support in terms of wearables and other devices to help improve operating room efficiency. But I think your most unique characteristic is, and I'm pretty sure this is right, but let's see. Kind of comes with this. Anybody remember the periodic table? We go way back, right? There's not too many vascular surgeons that are represented on the periodic table. In fact, we have one that's no longer with us, the great Dr. Silver, passed away in 2021, longtime division chief and a key influence on what we know about hemostasis today. Down here in the corner, Dr. Lawrence, you came close, but not quite. Almost there for Laurentium. Again, Dr. Lawrence, a prior president of both the SVS, SCVS. I won't go through his whole resume, but another great contributor to vascular surgery with the low frequency, and 18 years as division chief at UCLA. But right here, you can see Dr. Bismuth. There we go. And bismuth has some unique characteristics. Most of you probably remember it for this, but there is no, John, you're not a treatment for diarrhea. So most of us kind of remember some of these other properties. It's a very beautiful element. And I think the most important property is it doesn't decay. In fact, it says that the half-life of bismuth is 19 quintillion years. I don't even know how many zeros that is. So it just doesn't decay. Now, Jean, I'm giving you this representation on the periodic table, but if I look over the years, I'm starting to see a little decay. And I think it's up here. So, you know, I'm wondering what's going on, because it's not supposed to decay. But, you know, I'm standing up here in front of everybody, and I got to admit, I have some decay too. So I'm right there with you. I'm not gonna make fun of you by yourself. I'm right there with you. And I get it. I know, you know, in vascular surgery, you kind of told me, I could see it in your eyes, that you kind of had this feeling that we wish we were like this guy's here and had all of this long, you know, the man bun and everything. So, you know, so to help us, I said, let me go and do some research. And so I started asking all these tech companies. I said, hey, Dr. Bismuth, he's a real tech guy. And so they said, oh, everybody said, go to Terra Recon. Terra Recon will help you. So I took them this whole 4 pictures of our head, and they did all this re-imaging and laid it out and everything. And they came back to me and they said, sorry, there's no adequate landing zone for us to do anything for you. And I tried again, went to some of these other companies. I said, Verathena's kind of good. Oxygen therapy should work, drug elution. And they said, no, sorry. The surface area is just too large for any type of treatment of your head. And so I think we're just kind of stuck. But I will say that where there hasn't been any decay in your life, and it's actually been very admirable, and I really admire you for how you've done this, has been your collegiality with your colleagues in vascular and your close friends in vascular that you've maintained for many years. And because of that, and because of your personality and how you've reached out to so many of us and been so kind to us, I said we should end on a good note. And so I had some of your friends give me a little bit of help here.
Congratulations, Jean. What an amazing accomplishment to be president of the Society for Clinical Vascular Surgery. I'm so proud of you and can't be more grateful for your friendship over the last 2 decades. I'm incredibly excited about our future together at USF. You've already made a huge impact, and I can't wait to see what else you can accomplish. Love you, my friend. Congratulations.
Hey John, I want to say congratulations on your SCVS presidency. It's an honor and a privilege that is well deserved. Vince asked us all to get together and maybe do a video to roast you a little bit, and I really don't like to say anything bad about you because I want to respect my elders, so I'm going to leave it to the rest of the guys. I want to say congratulations, we're super proud of you, and I can't wait to hear your presidential address. I'm pretty sure it will not be controversial at all. Right, Chief?
Congratulations, Jean.
Oh, let me
what
get
an
to
amazing
sorry. So, there we go.
Congratulations to Dr. Jean Bismuth on his presidency 2025, SCVS. I'm so proud of you, Jean. I've known you for 20 years now since we finished training together, and I can't think of somebody to lead this society in a better format than you have. Your friendship, leadership, teaching, surgical skill, mentorship, and commitment to education is something that we all aspire to. I've just been happy to be along for the ride and to call you my friend, a colleague, and somebody as we have shared successes together. Congrats to you, and I look forward to an amazing meeting this year.
And last one, Dr. Sheehan.
Vince asked a few of Jean's friends to provide a video for this intro. The good news for Jean is that most of his friends probably didn't have enough time to make one. The bad news for Jean is I did. Hello, I'm Mal Sheehan, and the strange look you're seeing in Jean's eyes right now is fear. You probably see me a lot at this meeting, and that's thanks to my friend Jean. Most people would have looked at my years of work on the program committee and decades on TopCon and thought, Mal's done his time. Let's let him relax with those fat cats on the exec council. But Jean is perhaps the one person who has ever looked at me and thought, this guy needs more thankless crap to do. So instead of enjoying the sights and sounds of Austin, I've been in here as your program chair, hunting down a wayward poster session moderator, or cutting off a mind-numbing debate on the merits of VQI data and determining outcomes for off-label chimney grafts. So I suppose I should tell you a few things about Jean that you probably don't know. Well, for one, his phone decorum is abhorrent. About twice a month, I'll be operating and hear the circulating nurse pick up my phone. After telling the caller that I am in surgery, there'll be a prolonged pause, followed by the nurse saying, "Oh, sir, I cannot say that to him." That's when I know it's Jean. His other favorite trick is to wait until I'm just about to hang up and slide in, "I love you." He does this because he knows I'm Irish and have a long-standing fear of affection. Seriously, Jean is the perfect SCVS president. He's had a stellar academic career as program director at Houston Methodist, division chief at USF, but he's also been out in the private practice world, so he knows what it takes to survive there. Finally, Jean's an innovator, serving as PI for device trials and furthering our use of technology in vascular surgery. What I appreciate most about Jean is that he and I have always been supportive of each other's crazy ideas. Although in fairness, the worst trouble I ever got us into was an ill-fated attempt at rapping at the 2021 SCVS meeting. Jean's ideas, however, have led to threatened lawsuits from an international multi-million-dollar organization. Twice. Anyway, I'm out of clean material. Congratulations, Jean. I love you. Regrettably.
Congratulations.
Please join me in welcoming our 45th president, Dr. Jean Bismuth.
Well, I really dodged a bullet on that one. Certainly, I would say, Vince, yes, I do age unlike the element. There's no doubt about that, and seeing those pictures was very telling. So I have a little bit of a different title, and I would say when I sent the title in to Olivia, she said, I think it got cut off. The entire title is not there. But there is a purpose, and you'll see at the end of the talk exactly what I mean by my title. I lost my brother, who was my closest person, in a tragedy when he was just 38. I can't say that I have ever fully recovered from this loss, but it has profoundly shaped the way I see and process life. In many ways, it has driven me to seek deeper connections, build partnerships, foster bonds, and finding ways to bring people together. It has also shifted my perspective, encouraging me to see life not as something finite and rigid, but as something fluid, meant to be shared, experienced, and appreciated in its fullest sense. It is with great honor and humility that I have served as president of the Society of Clinical Vascular Surgery. Like many other societal presidential addresses, my words will seem like a very personal account of my experiences, views, and feelings. But they have a distinct message, and I have many people to thank for my success, as I certainly did not get here on my own. I hope you will indulge me. At the heart of my journey is my wife, Heidi, sitting right in front of me. She has been my fierce defender, advocate, an unwavering supporter through some of my toughest moments. When I faced adversity at work, she stood by my side. She was not just my cheerleader through successes, but also my protector during the hardest times. As I transitioned to a new job, Heidi provided guidance, offered sound advice, and helped me navigate my emotions. Her steadfast support gave me the courage to face challenges head on, knowing I had someone who believed in me. Heidi, in the words of Rumi, I don't love you with my heart and mind. I love you with my soul, in case my heart forgets and my heart stops. Oof. Heidi, please stand and be recognized. I didn't think I was going to get emotional, but you know, things are what they are. I want to thank my sister Jacqueline for having made the trip from Tunisia all the way on the other side of the world to witness what may be a calamity of a presentation, hopefully not. My sister and I have always had a very special relationship, and although she may have a small moment of pride today, I have a lot of pride in her achievements. Particularly one of the most popular cookbooks on Amazon France, which I think a lot of my friends have by now. She is joined by her daughter Marie, who is an ultrasound physicist at NC State University, and with whom I have the honor of working over the last year or so in one of my startups. Marie, please stand and be recognized with Jacqueline. We're born alone and we die alone. We look for a connection. Once in a while, we find a true friend. Hold on to those. They understand your demons and angels within you. To my loyal core of friends, Murray Shames, Mal Shahan, well, Mal, I may change my mind about that, Jason Lee, David Rigberg, Claudia Sheehan, Erica Mitchell, with whom I've shared many experiences over the last years, including much travel. Thank you. I love you all. I also want to thank Sam Money and Alan Dietzick, who supported me at SCVS, and without whom I wouldn't be standing in front of you today. Though I am deeply grateful for the opportunities I've had in my career, I often question whether I would choose to live my life this way again. I have poured myself into my work, in part to justify my existence, to prove my worth not just to myself, but especially to my father and my family. My father's story has been a defining force in my life. Born into abject poverty in Tunisia, he was pulled out of school at age 13 to help support his parents and sister. Yet through sheer determination, he built a thriving company and was recognized as one of the 500 people who helped shape Tunisia. His success was extraordinary not just because of where he started, but because he achieved it as a Jewish man in an Arabic country, ultimately becoming the only Jew ever elected as a senator there or anywhere else in the Arabic world. His resilience and accomplishments set a high bar, one that I've spent much of my life trying to measure up to. This year, we published an article in the Journal of the American College of Surgeons entitled Perspectives on Surgical Leadership, panel discussion at the Society for Clinical Vascular Surgery, which I'm very proud of and is the backdrop for this presentation. Why is it so important to talk about leadership? Surgical careers are intimately linked to our leaders, insofar as careers can be empowered by a positive chief, as much as a negative leader can derail the course of an individual. Despite its importance, leadership is not part of our traditional surgical education curriculum or early faculty development, at least not in the US and certainly not in vascular surgery. In our article, Ken Slaw wrote that leadership development is about mastering the skills of becoming a positive leader. These skill sets in leadership emphasize a focus on strengthening and communicating vision and strategy, establishing and sustaining personal credibility and integrity, and understanding complex human organizations as the relational enterprises they are, which is why strengthening human relations skills or emotional intelligence is so essential. I believe a team's strength comes from a foundation of trust, honesty, and transparency. Experience has taught me the true value of these qualities. The leader must own everything in his or her world. As written by Navy SEALs leadership coach Jocko Willink in his book, Extreme Ownership, total responsibility for failure is difficult to accept, but can be achieved with humility and courage. Own every mistake and credit your team with its successes. This can be applied both locally in institutions and nationally as a specialty. We cannot blame every other specialty for our problems. We need to own the solutions. Although this article received much airtime, I believe it has also impacted vascular surgery negatively. I had a recent encounter with a patient asking me, "Are you just going to do one of these unnecessary procedures?" We need to own our own destiny and be accountable for what we do. There are bad players in every specialty. Let's not think we are above reproach. No different than our cardiology and radiology colleagues, the private practice vascular surgeon carries a huge load of vascular work and are generally doing excellent work. We need to stop alienating our partners in vascular care. It is imperative that we appreciate that leaders are responsible for nurturing the growth of their team along with fostering individual strengths over being threatened by honors not attributed to themselves. As Jonathan Cardell and I wrote in our editorial in the Vascular Specialist, former Polish President Lech Walesa spurred the concept of Solidarność, or solidarity, through the trade union of the same name. Although I'm not necessarily suggesting that we unionize and incite a national strike, the reality is we would benefit from a little more solidarity in our specialty. We are in the ballpark of 3,000 vascular surgeons in the US for a population of nearly 350 million. Although I lack the prowess of Einstein, the math simply doesn't add up. There is undeniably no way we could manage all who need vascular care in this country. Then why are we so preoccupied with the noise of what interventional cardiologists, nephrologists, and radiologists are doing? Were we appointed to police vascular care? The reality is that there are plenty of those interventionalists who do respectable work, so why not embrace that? We need to be the strongest we can be. Let us be the standard bearer and fight for things that really matter. Vascular surgery became a specialty in the 1970s in the United States, and in many countries, including my homeland of Denmark, much later. Our forefathers were surgeons, or cardiothoracic surgeons. And so as we see how vascular surgery has evolved over the last 50+ years, we could say that we have developed out of multiple specialties, including radiology with the innovations of Charles Dotter. We can almost consider almost be considered a specialty of colonizers, acquiring borrowed techniques. Why then do we see ourselves as the keepers of vascular care? Why do we think that we are the only ones that can deliver the best vascular care? Without losing our identity, should we not look to partner with the other specialties providing vascular care? To think that we alone can provide appropriate vascular care is probably somewhat misguided. If we believe in a specialty that inspires, provides safety, and fosters fulfillment, both locally and nationally, every single day, then we must also recognize that leaders are the driving force behind making that vision a reality. It becomes our collective responsibility to identify those who are committed to leading with purpose, to guide them through insight and experience, and to support them in ways that increase the likelihood of success. By investing in strong, capable leadership, we take an active role in shaping a future, this vision, where there's a vision, not just an ideal, but a lived experience for all. Simon Sinek talks about leading in finite and infinite games. Finite games are like a football game, which will be played by a universally accepted set of rules. Infinite games are, by contrast, played by known and unknown players with no agreed upon rules. How players decide to play is entirely up to them, but one thing should be clear: there is no winning in the infinite game. Too many leaders play the game as if it can be won, proclaiming being the best or number one, etc. Instead, the suggestion for vascular surgery should be to be consistent and grow as a unified specialty. Maintaining this mindset is difficult, as people would be subject to bouts of ambition, ego, competing interests, and external pressures. At the end of the day, being able to look back on your career and say you have contributed to vascular surgery as a whole and not just to your own advancement must be what we strive for. The leader who accepts zero responsibility for mistakes, makes excuses, and blames everyone else for their failings will be an ineffective leader. This is ultimately the same person with an enormous ego. It must be clear that ego clouds and disrupts everything: the planning process, the ability to take good advice, and the ability to accept constructive criticism. When personal agendas become more important than the team and the overarching mission's success, performance suffers and failure ensues. During her presidential address at this very meeting, Karen Rockman referenced an article titled "Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, Who's the Most Narcissistic of Them All?" Pathologic personalities, traits in healthcare. This may not be surprising to anyone, but overall vascular surgery appears to lead the way in all three categories, namely narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Not really something to be proud of. What has shaped these attitudes? Did we just attract this quality? Perhaps Gib Upchurch's presidential address, "Vascular Surgery Needs Millennials," deserves a little mention here. I'll be honest, I don't think I completely understood it at the time because I perceived millennials as difficult. Yet the concept of generational diversity is real, and it can potentially positively impact vascular surgery. Millennials do communicate more effectively, transparently, and openly than prior generations of vascular surgeons. If we truly embraced and prioritized effective communication, we could reshape both the perception and reality of personality dysfunction, leading to greater satisfaction, improved outcomes, and a stronger ability to attract the best and brightest from the next generation. These young minds, as Neil Young famously said, have a kinder, gentler machine gun hand, bringing with them a fresh, more empathetic approach to leadership and collaboration. In preparation for this talk, I polled about 30 people in and outside of healthcare by asking what they perceived as the #1 failure in leadership that they have perceived and experienced. In some format, they universally responded that it was lack of transparency and trust. Although I certainly felt the same way, I wasn't sure if I was just jaded by prior experiences, but the reality is that this was completely in line with everything I've been reading. In her book, Dare to Lead, Brené Brown wrote that trust and vulnerability grow together, and to betray one is to destroy both. Some years ago, I invited Nick Adkins to deliver a special address to the trainees at the SCVS. Nick founded the nonprofit Pink Socks, which is built on the core principle of teaching vulnerability. I remember feeling incredibly apprehensive about introducing this exercise. Vulnerability is not something naturally embraced or openly discussed in the world of surgery, particularly among vascular surgeons. As Nick began his talk, a sense of panic set in. Would they accept this message? Would it resonate? But within moments, that fear gave way to something extraordinary, smiles, hugs, and a level of intense vulnerability I never expected. It was a profound reminder that even in the most high-stakes professions, openness and human connection have the power to transform. The reality is that, as Simon Sinek writes, in a group of people who simply work together, relationships are primarily transactional, simply based on a mutual desire to get things done. Ultimately, it doesn't matter that we don't like working with one another, but it does not create lasting, trusting teams. Trust can only develop once the team members feel safe expressing themselves. In other words, we must be able to be vulnerable. Without trust, the cracks in an organization are veiled or disregarded and eventually leads to a collapse. This is applicable locally in our divisions, as well as regionally and nationally in our specialties. The most extreme representation of this probably comes from the Navy SEALs. The chart used by the SEALs can certainly be used in our world. Everyone wants the ideal candidate, namely the high performer, high trust. But what the SEALs discovered is that prioritizing trust over performance leads to better performance of the team. The high performer, low trust, exhibits narcissism, is quick to blame others, and ultimately is a toxic team member. The problem with, as Simon Sinek explained, is that we have many metrics to assess performance, but essentially none to measure trust. Therefore, we essentially end up promoting the high performer or toxic team member. We must define better tools to identify and promote the right leaders. So then what can we actually unite under? As a clinician, moral distress and burnout continue to rise. It is essential to examine the role of administrative harm in daily clinical practice. While the existing literature does not explicitly reference administrative harm, it strongly suggests its presence. Clinicians frequently express discomfort with organizational decisions, decision-making shaped by regulations, financial incentives, external pressures, time constraints, uncertainty, and the growing influence of corporate interest in healthcare. Administrative decisions driven by profit often prioritize short-term gains while overlooking long-term negative consequences. As a result, Patients suffer direct harm, while clinicians experience moral injury and growing disillusionment. These pressures, the decisions they drive, and their subsequent impact erode the culture and integrity of healthcare organizations, ultimately affecting the broader healthcare system. Most of our current hot-button topics are just different ways to look at a problem, depending on how your lens is tinted. We feel administrative harm is not like one of these. Administrative harm decisions affect us all, usually unfavorably. Are we really training our residents and fellows for the realities of vascular practice in the US? Do they understand administrative harm? Is there an understanding that the more hospital Bitcoin we are asked to mine, the more that places a premium on time and can affect education? Do they realize that there is a national push to defund vascular surgery? The truth is that the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid have slowly been mounting a frontal assault on reimbursements, and we are naive to think that this doesn't impact those of us salaried in hospital-based systems. Our specialty depends not only on academicians, but also on our private practice and community practitioners who are delivering the lion's share of vascular care nationwide and doing it well. However, in the face of these local and national administrative harms, our small and highly skilled specialty has chosen to debate issues by their very nature are divisive amongst our own ranks. Atherectomy, office-based lab, cardiology, the concept of an independent board, and the list goes on. So who is harming who? We should be looking at this game as an infinite one where there is no winner. Solidarity is defined as unity or agreement of feeling or action, especially among individuals with a common interest, mutual support within a group. This means aligning with the things that support our specialty, our ability to effectively manage our patients and our lives outside of work. That means that we shield ourselves as much as possible from administrative harm. That means our leaders must be effective leaders. Negative leadership puts us down a rabbit hole that breeds dissent. A little controversial here. Elon Musk stated that he is most concerned about the reality of goodness and not the perception of it, proclaiming that many leaders pretend to be doing good when in fact they are doing evil things. We need to separate ourselves from that stigma of bad leaders that has so long been a stain on vascular surgery and impacted our ability to recruit more people to the field. Leadership is a key element that represents vascular surgery as a whole. We must become better ambassadors for our specialty. It's remarkable how interventional cardiologists and radiologists have been able to promote their fields so effectively, something we need to learn from. Vascular surgery needs a facelift, and it's up to us to lead the charge in elevating our specialty's visibility and value. How much responsibility do we want for the problem? It is not a question of blame, but rather the ability to respond to a situation. We want 100%, extreme ownership. The number one hallmark of self-defeating behavior is blaming others for your problems. Personal power is accepting responsibility. I would like to leave you with a poem by Rudyard Kipling. And this is the part of the title that didn't make sense before, but hopefully makes sense now. The title of the poem is called If. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blame it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make your dreams your master, if you can think and not make your thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it all, one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerves and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so long on when there is nothing in you, Accept the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a leader, my friend. Thank you very much.